Can we get a cup of coffee in here, please?
Damn good coffee and hot.
Wake up, America. You've got a dog that needs walking. That's right, sunshine. Just put on a big pot of strong coffee and get ready to type your little hate mail with your opinions about kumbaya and flat earth insanity. Stand-up comedy? You want stand-up comedy? Well, we've got sit-down comedy. It's time for Coffee with the Dog. You make me laugh.
No. Just no. That's my answer. I'm not doing it. It's too early. I'm going back to bed. The band isn't going back to bed. All right, I'm waking up. Oh, yeah. Good morning, folks. Well, it's a beautiful morning here. Actually, it's not too hot. Sun's out. It's a beautiful summer morning. Today is Thursday, July 20th, 2023. July 20th, of course, an anniversary for sane people in America. Of course, for insane people, they deny it ever happened. I'm talking about the moon landing, 1969. The year the Mets didn't suck. That one year, well, there were 2 years the Mets didn't suck, actually. But other than that, they have sucked. Speaking of sucking, Jay Morante, a Yankee fan, who the Yankees also currently suck. They've been trying to imitate the Mets this year. That's what's happening. The Yankees are trying to be more like the Mets and succeeding. Which, except for the fact that they don't have the biggest. It used to be in the old days, the Yankees always had the biggest payroll. George Steinbrenner would be ashamed that Steve Cohen is outspending him for a losing team. Anyway, baseball in New York. Not a good year for baseball in New York, folks. I'm sorry. But Jay Morante will be here in just a few minutes, and we're going to talk about West Side Story and other things. West Side Story. Yesterday, caught this thing on Netflix that I did not know existed called Rumble, and it's got a tagline to it that I forget because I'm old and stupid. But it's all about indigenous people's influence on popular music going back to the turn of the 20th century. And, eye-opening for me. I did not realize how many Native American performers, writers, players were all part of popular music, rock and roll, but beyond rock and roll, even before rock and roll, the evolution of popular music. It's really an eye-opener, and I couldn't suggest it more. It was very enjoyable. Of course, one of my heroes, one of my biggest influences in music, Robbie Robertson from the band, is part Native American, Native Canadian, Native North American. You know what? It's not full-blooded, but he's still that part of that influence was part of his life, and he brought that to the band and Americana. Americana, oddly enough, big part of Americana. The genre of music was shaped by a Native American. We don't think of that often. We think of, African American roots music, and we think of some of the European influence, we very rarely even hear about indigenous peoples' influence on rock and roll. So it's a great documentary. I hope you enjoy it. Later on in the show, I'm going to be talking about a couple of the latest Rogan clips that got me uh, interested, kind of laughing at what's going on there. Of course, last night. Now, I'm not sure if this really happened. This is how screwed up the world is. When I got up this morning, I was looking at headlines about a tornado in North Carolina, Rocky Mount, North Carolina, that caused a lot of damage, injuries, possible deaths. And that story has gone away. Why? Because we are so preoccupied with the political theater that's going on, constant political theater, which if you're not exhausted by that, I don't know what you're made of, because it is exhausting. Uh, and it's to the point where I am running for political office and not even talking about it. That's how exhausted I am with politics. But that has taken over like important stories. Like I have friends in North Carolina, and I don't even know if this story about it just seemed to disappear about a deadly tornado overnight or in the early hours of the morning here seemed to disappear. I don't even know if it really happened. Did I imagine it? News stories like that aren't supposed to just disappear. Um, of course, the most important story for anybody on the planet right now is that Jason Aldean, a shitty, and I can say this from experience. Siri just turned on when I said shitty. I said shitty, not Siri. A shitty country musician, a country singer songwriter, just not a talented guy at all. He basically made his living off of a empty cowboy hat. Um, he had a song called "Try That in a Small Town." Came out in May. Him and his record company were expecting a #1 hit. It flopped. It was flopping, and it's still not on the Billboard Top 40. It is #1 on Apple this morning. Apple's list of top pop country bullshit songs. But it's a flop. It's not on the Billboard Top 40, and that's the chart, folks. Even with all the streaming services, you can throw out their individual charts and look at Billboard charts, because that's what really counts as far as making money. And he's not in the top 40, but he's getting there, and he's getting there because of this manufactured outrage. People are thinking, and both sides buy into this nonsense, by the way. And I hate to get all conspiratorial. Shut up, Siri. I'm not talking to you. I don't know. Siri all of a sudden thinks like she's part of the show, and that she has had transgender surgery, or she's got a voice surgery or something, because she sounds like a guy. Anyway, uh, both sides buy into this nonsense. The outrage was not started by people on the left, the woke mob, if you will, if you want to use Ron DeSantis' favorite word. It was started by Jason Aldean's record company and management. And believe me, I know how this shit works, and I have some experience with these people indirectly. They were thinking, well, how can we make this friggin' song a hit, because it's not going anywhere and nobody cares about it? Well, I know what we could do. Start a cancel culture fake campaign, and then they put it out there that this video is racist and it promotes violence and all this stuff. And of course, the video has lots of anti BLM stuff in it, and images of riots. And the left said, "Oh yeah, it's just this is racist," because Jason Aldean's management and record company told you to get outraged about the racism. So the left jumped on that. And now the right is pushing back. Oh, see, we can't let these woke people take over. CMT took the video down. I don't think CMT did that on their own. I think the record company asked them, please get outraged by this. Take it down. Help us. to sell Jason Aldean, whose career was over several years ago and is still trying to stay relevant. And let's face it, modern country music. Somebody said this to me last night because they listened to the song. They said, I feel like anybody could do the words are shallow. It's three chords over and over again. No real bridge, no real thought into the music production. They have 9 writers getting royalties on this friggin' thing. And it's what all country music is today. Modern country music is beyond the simplest form of McDonald's cheeseburger and junk food, junk art that you can feed the hungry public and keep them getting new stuff. It's not quality art. I'm sorry. If you're in that genre, you're selling your soul. You're not really being an artist. You're being a production factory for low calorie or high calorie, fat, trans fat food of music. That's what it is. Not good stuff. And this is what Jason Aldean is all about. So, you know what? I hate to sound like I'm just like totally anti Jason Aldean. I just think the guy is not worth this outrage. And it's like the most important thing on Twitter. People are just all like on fire about the supposed cancellation, and it's manufactured cancellation, and people are falling for it both on the left and the right, just as the plan should go. And it's taking away from me finding out about tornadoes and people I care about. Nowhere, no coverage of it all. It's like it didn't happen. I don't know if it really did happen. Did I imagine it? I don't think so. Anyway, so that's where we're at this morning. I don't know, just a brief programming note, and I'm going to keep doing this. This is something new I'm going to keep doing is these teasers about what's coming up in hour 2 to keep people, especially the people on Rumble who are seeing this stuff, because I know the people on Rumble are more politically charged and big part of the Rogan cult. I'm sorry. I'm using a very offensive language here today. Maybe you should cancel me. How about that? There is a petition to cancel me somewhere on those petition websites, by the way. I started it. This is how I know about this stuff. I've been part of this marketing machine for years, and I understand that sometimes cancellation calls come from within the house because I've done it. I've done it for companies like that. But anyway, so we'll be talking about Rogan, and there's 2 clips. They're kind of long. I don't know if I'm going to play them in their entirety. 2 clips that got my attention about Rogan, and they're both about lack of self-awareness. One, he's talking with Tom Segura about people who feel entitled. And both of these knuckleheads are talking about entitlement culture and not even realizing they're describing their own entitlement. It's so friggin' bizarre to sit and watch these 2 guys talk about how outraged they are about entitled people. Tom Segura, and listen, I like Tom Segura's comedy. I mean, as far as comedians go, I think he's head and shoulders above Rogan. He is a legit funny stand-up comic. But as a person, I don't really have a whole lot of respect for the guy. And the more I get to know, the more he reveals about himself, the less I like him. But he's talking, and we'll get to the clips, but he's talking about entitlement, and then how rude it is that he can't get breakfast when they stop serving breakfast anymore. And don't you know who I am? That's so rude not to treat me like a first-class passenger because I should be able to get breakfast even though you're serving lunch now. Goes straight over his head, doesn't? And they're talking about the police situation, how you have to give police the courtesy and respect that they deserve when you get pulled over. all that kind of stuff. We'll talk about that. But then the other clip I want to show is Rogan talking to this guy. I think his name is Mark Andreessen, about cults and the proliferation of cults. And, not to give too much away, he talks about how there is an internet element to cult behavior now. And a lot of these people are being put in, a lot of people who are just podcasters, let's say, have a cult following, and people who live on, and Rogan, it goes right over his head that he is that. They both talking about, neither one of them point out the obvious elephant in the room when we're talking about cults and internet influence. And he's talking to the most influential cult leader on the internet. It's pretty bizarre. But they also talk about a cult who I have had the opportunity to interview, the former assistant to the head cult leader on my evening program, and she was talking about getting out of the cult, and she was in it for 20 years, and they moved to Austin. Actually, Joe Rogan's mothership comedy club is the is in that is based in the headquarters of that cult, interestingly enough. Anyway, we'll talk about that in an hour or two. Jay Moranti, as I said, will be here, probably wearing his Yankee hat. Listen, there's nothing I can say more. I can say I don't want to get the Yankee fans sending me death threats now, but come on, New York, baseball. Do we know how to play baseball here? I mean, they have good players. Both teams have good players. Just embarrassing. Just embarrassing. What's going on? I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to get some cold coffee when we come back. Jay Moranti will be here. Now, I'm thinking of changing the name to the Jay Moranti Show because it's only been 6 weeks since he's been on. It's a pretty quick turnaround. We'll just call it the Jay Moranti Show from now on. How about that? Anyway, I'll be back in just a minute. I'm going to go get a fresh cup of cold coffee. You should get a fresh cup of cold coffee too. Couldn't hurt, right? Maybe it'll help you stay awake during all this boring rambling that I'm doing. Anyway, we'll be right back. This episode is brought to you by Koa Coffee. If you are a coffee connoisseur and want to experience the best coffee Hawaii has to offer, no blends, no compromise, try the true taste of aloha. Koa Coffee produces premium Hawaiian coffee, hand-picked, expertly roasted, and delivered from Hawaii to your door with aloha. From award-winning 100% Kona coffee grown on the slopes of the Mauna Loa volcano to the unique mocha beans of Maui, they strive to provide their loyal customers with the best quality and freshness. Since 1997, Koa Coffee has been known far and wide as a product of utmost quality, and their awards prove it. Koa Coffee was featured in Forbes' Top 10 Coffees of the World. This is the coffee Forbes called the best coffee in America. Find out what it's all about. Go to minddogtv.com/coffee. And with every order of Koa Coffee, you get a beautiful brunette girl running on the beach. She comes with every order, so I would get on that. Koa Coffee, man. Don't forget to tell them Mind Dog sent you, and they'll say, "What? Who? Huh?" Just like just like Vinny Vanelli was getting on the streets of Manhattan on the 4th of July or 1st of July. I think he was there, actually. But saying, "Hey, you want to be on Mind Dog TV?" And people walking by, "What? Huh? Hey, Mind Dog TV? Never heard of it. Never will hear of it." Anyway, Jay Moranti is Syracuse's #1 thespian comedian. How about that? How about that for an intro? And he's here not wearing a Yankee hat, ladies and gentlemen. Back to the owner.
Yes, and I like the Jay Moranti Show. Good morning, Matt. Thanks for having me on. But I like that, the Jay Moranti Show.
Yeah, me too. It's a good.
What do you think?
It's easy People will, you know what? With Vinny on the street saying you want to be on the Jay Moranti show, I bet you more people will stop than him saying you want to be on Mind Dog TV.
No, stop it. Listen, no, I am. I gotta say seriously, man, I'm honored to be here. Honored, privileged. Thank you so much for having me. I can't thank you enough. Thank you for having me on again so quick. And I took you up on it the last time I was on. I didn't know if I'd ever be on
No,
again.
you're well.
Towards the end of the show, you go, I'm gonna have you on again. So I took you up on it because it is important to really push this. I'm promoting West Side Story. You know, before I get into that though, I love what you said. A couple things when you opened, it was just you. It was great. You went, speaking of sucking, Jay Moranti. I got nervous. You were talking about the Yankees. And I just heard.
No, I knew that. That's why I stopped.
Yankee fan. It was about the.
That's why I stopped. That's why there was that pause there. It's like, how do I get out of this? I don't want to say Jay sucks. I want to say he's a fan of a team that sucks.
They are. I don't know. I can't get. Well, maybe we'll talk. We will talk about the Yankees, but not this second.
You want to send me a link to the because I don't have the link to put in the description, but send me a link to where they can get tickets for the West Side Story thing.
I will. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. You have so many listeners. It's awesome. And whether like in the New York City area up to Syracuse, whoever's listening, if you're going to just be in Syracuse, if you have relatives in Syracuse, whatever, West Side Story is at Thornton Park. It's an outdoor theater. It's up by Syracuse University. It's a beautiful place to see a play. And we're actually doing West Side Story, the musical, August 4th, 5th, and 6th, 11th, 12th, and 13th. It's first 2 weekends of August. Obviously, there's no lighting. So for the sunlight, it's a 5:30 show, Friday and Saturday, 5:30 p.m., Friday, Saturday shows. And the Saturday and the Sunday shows, the 6th and the 13th, those are matinees at 2. So 5:30, 5:30, and 2, both weekends. I'm co-producing it. I've been there a lot, helping out, and we have some. I don't want to get in because I'll forget somebody's name, but the actors, the performers are great. Our leads playing Tony and Maria, the gentleman playing Riff. The leads are really doing a great. I mean, everybody's good. We got a good, solid cast for community theater. I'm very impressed with how Ronnie Bell, the director, has cast this, and I'm excited. I want everybody to be excited. Come and see it. Yes, it's Shakespeare in the Park, but it's not Shakespeare this time. It's West Side Story.
Okay, well, good stuff. West Side Story is a great play to see. Now, just let me back up a little bit. You are free to and welcome to come on every week if you want. I mean,
you're the best, man.
No,
because I'm following people. I mean, Vic DiBitetto, I love that guy. He's awesome. I saw Vic here in Syracuse probably about 4 or 5 years ago. He is so funny.
Oh, somebody else I know is going, and I can't. It's slipping my mind right now. Somebody's going to Syracuse very soon. A big name comedian. I can't remember who it was. But for the West Side Story stuff and for the stuff that's in the park, do people bring their own seating? Is there seating there? Could you bring your own lounge chairs? What's the deal with that?
Yeah, it's like how do I describe it? It's just grass. Okay. And there's like levels, right? Like a stadium seating, but it's just grass. So you should bring at least a blanket, but yes, great question. People have to bring their own lawn chairs. You can bring snacks, and a lot of people do that. There's some people that go every year and they just get there early and camp out and get it all set up and they've got their snacks. It's, I want to walk by and go, hi, can I have some hummus? I mean, it's just like, it's interesting. What people bring. So you can bring, and it's a great place for it's really a family friendly kind of thing. So
right. Is there an orchestra or are you using like recorded backing tracks?
It is going to be the track. They're singing live, but they're singing with a track. Yes. Right.
Well, I don't have no problem with that in theater and stuff like that, especially. But I was just wondering because it would be a challenge for the audio part outdoors to get a huge orchestra to sound really. I mean, you got to have major investment in sound equipment then to really produce that up. Do you sing?
Do I sing?
Yeah. Because all these shows require some, right? It's musicals. You gotta.
I can sing, but I don't. It's weird. I've never really been in a musical, and I can dance too. And people are like, Jay, you dance. Why don't you? I'm like, I don't know. I'm one of those. I like musicals, but it's not my favorite. I'm one of those people that can't quite grasp the whole thing. Right. Isn't that weird? I don't feel comfortable waking up and going like, I just woke up this morning. It's just weird. I like plays, man. You know what I mean? I don't know. And my theater friends right now, if they're watching, they're going, "Oh, Jake."
Now, West Side Story is about two gangs, the Jets and the Jets and Sharks, right?
Jets versus Sharks. Right.
Now, is that kind of based on Romeo and Juliet or something, or it's something?
Yeah, because Romeo and Juliet is
The Capuletos,
Juliet the Capulet, and Romeo and I should know my Shakespeare, right? Romeo the Montagues. They're totally like two gangs. They hate each other, right? Hatfields and McCoys kind of thing, right? So it's just like, oh my God, not her, you know. And then there's a cousin of Juliet's. I think the character's name is Tybalt, who is very fiery, and he challenges somebody in the street, and that's where the fight is. It's not really like gangs fighting, but that's a big fight right there. Yeah. And then Tybalt kills Romeo's friend. Romeo, in rage, kills Tybalt. Now Romeo has killed Juliet's cousin, but love still comes through, right? And yeah, it's a great play, Romeo and Juliet. It's weird. It's not my favorite. Some people, it's just their absolute favorite. It's besides Hamlet, I think it's the one that everybody like knows. Oh yeah, Romeo and Juliet. I know that. It is good, but it's not my favorite.
West Side Story, though, there was a movie. Of course, there's a very big movie. Have they ever made a remake of that movie? Do you know? I don't think so. I think the original.
Well, they did. Yeah, I feel like Steven Spielberg did it a couple of years ago, maybe.
I guess it wasn't a big hit because I don't remember it. But that,
well, the one with Rita Moreno, who talking about amazing, talented woman. She's incredible, right? She was so good in that role. Anita, she's the one from I think it's late 50s or early 60s, right? The actual original film is that's awesome. I love that one. That's the one I like to watch.
Yeah.
Not the remake.
Yeah.
But I'm excited about, doing other things other than acting, co-producing. I don't want this to get boring. Like, oh no, we're going to fall asleep on Jake. He's talking about writing, but I'm getting into writing a lot more. I've always kind of been a writer. So I'm writing, I'm kind of like the jack of all trades. I can't help it. It's kind of a bad thing, right? If I just focus on one thing, I do stand up, but not nearly as well as like Vic or anybody like that. I love acting, so it's like I do too much, but I can't help it. I'm actually going to be directing. I've directed a couple of smaller things, and a friend of mine. I can't say what it is or where it is because it's not like written in stone. You know what I mean? It's not advertised yet that it's going to happen, but it's a Christmas show. And I'm going to co-direct, so I'm excited about that. So sorry, I can't say exactly what it is. But.
Co-direct. Now, I was just going to ask you about producing and co-producing. What exactly is your role as a co-producer? What do you do?
I knew you were going to ask me that, and I should have got like already. No, because it's like, what do you do? Well, with Ronnie Bell, who does a lot of stuff, like he's like one of those guys. He just does everything on his own, anyways. I'm basically just doing anything that Ronnie can't do because he's directing this. Wow. So just helping out if somebody, if the actors need help with anything, I am helping promote it, get the word out. Producers though, again, I'm co-producing with Ronnie. Ronnie got all the grants. Producers help with the money and stuff at the beginning, but like anything, I'm basically like anything he needs. Props. Talking things. I was at like the meeting and helping him. I helped with the audition. I'm just kind of like his assistant. So wow. I'm co-producing it. So I got that credit, which is good. I got coffee.
That's good. Yeah. Now, does the city of Syracuse support this in any way? Do they do anything to help out in any way, or they just at least their involvement is to let you use the park?
Basically, let us use the park, but we do get a lot of support from some of the local businesses, which I can't name any of them, right? Because I don't have that in front of me, but a lot of local businesses help out. And we always get on this one morning TV show. Some of the radio stations and TV stations do help out promote it. But yeah, I wish we got a little bit more help, but that's okay. It's 21st season. We're still going strong. So
yeah. Well, I don't know of any other, and listen, I don't get around that much anymore, but I don't know of any other places that do theater in the park anymore. And it's kind of we see a lot of town-sponsored concerts in the park and stuff like that, but you don't
music
see
outside.
plays and theater in the park. So that's good stuff. I don't even know if they do it in Central Park anymore. They used to in New York City. Used to have theater in the park, but I don't know.
I think they used to do Shakespeare in the park there, right? I should check into that. I don't know if they do. I think they did. No, they had to have, right?
Speaking of Shakespeare, you called me out on butchering thou doth,
What?
because I can't say doth. I feel like I got a lisp when I say doth.
Oh man, listen. Wait,
I
you know
don't
what
know
though?
who
I got a couple things for you. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know when you just have one of those weeks. I've had one of those weeks, man. Just the emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to get to the Yankees. Sunday and Monday were just horrible because they lost 2 extra inning games back to back, just killing me. So that's just my girlfriend's like, oh my gosh, is he going to start throwing things? I stay calm, but you know, that's the anger, the sadness, the anxiety, the defeat. So Sunday and Monday were horrible. But Tuesday, I went to see Mission Impossible with my son. He's a movie nut, so we went to see Mission Impossible. So now you're running the roller coaster of just white knuckling it with Mr. Cruz there. I mean, his stunts are amazing. I don't know if you want to. I don't. You still go to the movies?
No, I would not go to a movie theater. You know what?
You'll see it when you
Yeah.
can.
I know it's a much better experience now, even even post COVID and everything.
Yeah, the sound quality, everything.
Sound quality, the comfort of the seats, all of it.
Seats.
It's a better experience than I was used to.
Yeah, so that was awesome. Tuesday, and I took a break from the Yankees, who probably lost. They lost again. So now I'm watching this awesome. It was a really good movie. I mean, I know some people are like, oh, come on, how many is he going to do? But it's just awesome. I don't know. If you buy into the whole Mission Impossible thing, wow. Great film. I recommend it. And then last night, Wednesday, I was at the Funny Bone watching a great comedian, Jeff Allen. Hilarious guy. I don't know if you know him. He's from Tennessee. Yep. He's 67. Because I know when you're talking to Vic was said he was 62, maybe. It was 60 something. This guy's 67, still doing it. He was so good. So
yeah,
funny.
I know. He's got some reels going around. I guess Facebook or YouTube, and I watch them all the time. There are a lot of senior citizen comedians still doing it, and it's surprising to me that guys my age are still out there doing it. I guess it's like it's a drug. You can't get you
right. Right,
Yeah.
You can't get enough of it. It's true. You're thinking, guy, what are you guys doing? You're getting up there, but yeah, it's Well, one thing I will say is I do think the older comedians are better because they have more to draw on. You know what I mean? It's just something you always get better at if you are good at it.
Right. Yeah. But the Tom Cruise stuff. Now he's a great actor, and I don't think. I mean, aside from that one Francis Ford Coppola thing that was really. Memory makes it seem, nostalgia makes it seem like it was a great movie. I can't remember the name. It was like a West Side Story thing. It was the Outsiders or something like that. It was Socials against the Greasers. Young, right? What? Yeah. And he was in that movie. That's the only movie I can think of that I think was really subpar. And I if I hadn't watched it again recently, I would have thought it was a great movie. But then when I watched it again recently, I was like, man, this is poorly written. The only thing that's great about that movie is the cinematography. But other than that, I can't.
I haven't seen that in so long. The Outsiders.
You know what? It's funny when you go see when you see movies that you remember is great, and then you watch them and you're like, wow, this is really poor writing. One of those, and people don't get this yet. I think myself and my wife were the first ones to kind of, and like 15 years ago now, we watched Saturday Night Fever, and we're like, man, this is a classic movie. Why? The writing is so bad.
So you haven't seen Saturday Night Fever in a long time, and you watched it, you didn't like it. You thought the writing.
Yeah. Here's some dialogue from Saturday Night Fever. Tell me, Stephanie, do you love this man? He helps me, man. Do you love him? He helps me, man. He helps me. He helps me. Okay, he helps you. That's good for you. So good for you. That's good for you.
Oh, you're killing it, man. You got to get into acting now. Your acting was great. Oh, that was funny. Right, so that was Travolta doing that, right?
Yeah. Do you love this man?
I think you're right. I guess people just like, the dancing, the music.
Yeah. The dancing and the music, but
for women, for women, they're like, he's gorgeous. He's such a cute. Look at him. They love John Travolta, how he looked. But you're right. I mean, Yeah. I haven't seen it well, but you're right. The dialogue. I gotta watch it again now. You got me wanting to watch it now. You know what I do remember though? I do love the part. I thought this was funny as a comedian. I love when he goes, "Stop hitting my hair." You know, in the beginning, his dad's hitting him. He goes, "Stop hitting my hair." You know, I worked for a long time on my hair. I come down here and you hit it. I just love the hair joke. I don't know. That gets me every time. You hit my hair.
Yeah, one pork chop.
Because his hair is perfect. He works so hard. He's going out.
Yeah, all of it. Yeah, Andrew Dice Clay makes fun of that in Fort Fairlane, Rock and Roll Detective when he's falling. He goes, the hair, my hair.
The way it comes out with the accent, the hair. But you know, now Andrew Dice Clay, I think he's still probably doing stand up. I bet he is, right? He probably is.
Yeah,
he's an older guy, still doing it.
Yeah.
I just think they have more to draw from. And if you're okay with this, I just want to talk for a second about. I was thinking of this. I wrote a note. I've been trying to write some notes so I can. Love Vic DeBattista, and I agree with him like to a point, but not all the way. With his point about when he said recently in your show a couple days ago or whatever, there's too many comics. I kind of agree. You know, but I'm like, you want to go, Vic? You know, you've made it, man. Like, remember when I want to go, Vic? Don't you remember when you started? What if someone said, you know, you're not funny, so stop? I just didn't understand. But I think what his point was, there's too many comics, and they're not. You know, I like the delusional part. He's right. There are guys here. It's like, you know, I always say guys. You know, women are funny too. The comics, men and women, will kind of over promote, you know, and I get the whole idea of like, you know, pizza shop and then they take the picture just right and go, you know, packed house. It's a packed house, but there's not really a lot of people there, so they're over. I get that point he makes.
Right, I understand what you're saying, and I can kind of split the baby here, and because I agree that what you're saying, you don't want to kill anybody's dream, and people when they're starting out, they should be encouraged, but. On the same note, he's talking about pizza places. Listen, if I go to a pizza place, first of all, I don't want to be charged $30 to get into a pizza place. I just want to get a slice, and I'm not coming here to see wait, there's a comedy show here, and
You're
then
right. Good point.
And then have a bunch of hack comics who are just starting like basic. Right above the open mic. They've done 3 or 4 open mics now.
Just barely.
And like, oh man, I don't want to subject my friends and family to that kind of stuff.
No, it's a good point. It's a good point he makes. And I think what he's saying too, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think Vic is saying, you know, there's so many comics and they're making comedy look bad because they're not doing well. And to also hook onto that, I think he was saying, it made me think of this. I don't know if he was saying this. Okay, you got to know, yes, don't kill a guy's dream, don't kill a person's dream, but to a point, you got to realize when maybe it's not for you. So if there's a guy doing comedy, I don't know what the number is, but it's more than just a year. If you're doing it for 3 or 4 years and you're not getting any better, it's probably not for you, right? I think that's what he's saying too. There's so many comics, you can't just keep doing it. And if you're not getting any better, maybe you weren't really meant for comedy. And
yeah, you know, I don't think that's really. I don't think that's really possible. If you're really doing it, if you're working hard at it and you're not getting any better, I think that something is wrong somewhere. Because I think no matter how much talent you have, if you work hard at it for 3 or 4 years, even if you're like have no talent whatsoever, you're going to get better at it.
You're going to get better.
And I always compare comedy to music to a fault. Like I go overdo this stuff. But in music, for me, I was that young guy who had dreams of being a rock star and all the fame and fortune and all that stuff. And at sometime in my mid-20s, because I had this thing in my head that if you don't make it by 30 in rock and roll, you're done. I mean, the Beatles were but young 20s when they made it. I always had all that stuff in my head. But so in my mid-20s, I had this awakening, epiphany, whatever, that you don't need to be a rock star. You don't need to be rich and famous. You can do this on a level that supports you and fulfills you, and meets your needs of creativity without having that end goal in mind. Because so many times we do things with the goal in mind rather than the purpose in mind, rather than doing it because I love it, and when we lose track of why we started and all that stuff. So there's that, and I think that's true in comedy too. If you really love stand-up, you don't have to worry about being the next Sebastian Maniscalco and selling out Madison Square Garden 5 nights in a row. You can make a nice little niche for yourself doing comedy clubs locally or and all that stuff. And I think people lose track of that, lose sight of that. And I think it's important to kind of hold on
Great
to that.
point. I mean, you know, I still act. I don't get past. I can't support myself on acting. Anything that I do, I'm still doing it because I love it. Yeah, and the thing for the younger guys, and I'm actually, you know, everybody says, "Oh, I look younger." I'm older. I'm not, you know, I'm in my 50s. I'm not like young anymore where I can go be all ambitious. So the younger comics, they don't listen to the older ones. It's a bummer. They really don't. And I know, I don't care what anybody says, it still is the basic. You got to have jokes and you got to have punchlines. And when you start, I don't mean to go on and on about stand up, but when you start the show, you got to get some laughs early. I don't think anybody really should try to be like a storyteller. I don't know what that's all about. Well, you know what? And these younger guys, they get up and they're just talking and talking. I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? You know, there's only so much time. You have to get up there and you got to get to your first punchline fast, and hopefully somebody laughs. And if you don't get a laugh on your first few, you're bombing. Okay, but it's just crazy. And I know people. There's a guy. I'll give him a plug. He's great. He's like in his 60s. I don't know if he does stand up anymore, but his name's Tim Joyce. Very funny guy. He lives in Buffalo. He was in Chicago, and you know he had a career. I mean, he was in a movie. He did stand up a lot, and now he teaches. And wow, what an eye opener! I took one class with him, and I learned a lot because I listened. And you got to listen to the. I mean, if some guy's done stand up pretty successfully for 15, 20 years, he's got to know what he's doing. And the younger guys don't want to listen. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Because they're proud. They're proud. Like, well, no, I know. I'm not going to be like, you know, one-liner guy. It's like, that's not the point. You know?
Yeah. You have to have respect for those who came before you. And I think that there's a big part of that. And it saddens me because I forget who I was talking, maybe Mike Binder. I was talking somebody last week.
I watched a little bit of that too. Yeah. Mike,
about the lack of knowledge of people that came before. I had to explain to people who Robert Klein was, people who are comedians who are in the business and don't know who Robert Klein was. I mean, to me, and people know this about me, Robert Klein belongs on my personal Mount Everest of comedians. He's one of the foundational people in the business. And to not know who somebody was mentioning Robert Schimmel. I don't know who it was that I had on recently. And Schimmel is one of those people that young comedians today don't know anything about. But in his day, he was, you know, he was the best there was, and for a very short period, he's passed away young. But you know, it's to not know those people, not even appreciate. To me, it would be like me not knowing who Elvis Presley or the Beatles were and wanting to be a
right. I mean, that is the one good thing about all this crazy technology. If you're young, you could just go YouTube, whatever. You could look up real quick anything. So why don't you go look up comics and just watch them?
Yeah.
You know, hear the rhythms of you just watch them. How do they? What does their presence look like on stage? You know, and yeah, you want to do your stuff, but find a way to it's like there's almost like a formula, you know, and they just don't want to embrace it. It's crazy.
Something I found really odd, and for whatever reasons, I get amused by this stuff. Somebody was having a Twitter conversation with Louis J. Gomez, and he said, "I can't believe Robert Kelly said," and the quote was, "Comedy is like jazz," and I was like. And Louis J. Gomez says that's not such a bad analogy. I always said comedy is like weightlifting. I was like, I don't get that one. But the comedy like jazz stuff is not new. It's not a Robert Kelly original. That stuff goes back to Borscht Belt stuff, or you know, you're talking the 40s and 50s, and I've heard that my entire life. And I think there is some truth to that. You talk about rhythms and all of that stuff. Comedy does. Have a lot in common with, you know, jazz or you know, music in general. So it's just funny that people having that conversation like, how dare he make that analogy? I don't get it. So and with that, do you remember you're in your 50s, were Catskills, the Borscht Belt, a thing in your lifetime? Because you're not too far from there. You're a couple of hours away from
No,
it.
I know what you're talking about. Right. That's before my time. Right.
All
There
the
was a lot
hotels,
of,
the Concord, and there were a bunch of hotels up there in the Catskills where
yeah.
it was the place to go to do stand-up.
Yeah, I mean, not just comedy. I think musicians and
Yeah.
performers and
Yep.
would
I
perform
did
there
a
as
bunch of
well.
those gigs in
I
the
wish it was
70s.
still, I wish there was more. I love art and entertainment, so I wish there was more around in New York State.
Yeah.
But let's get back to music for a minute. So if we could, 'cause you brought up music, what do we say about that, Matt? I mean, like, help me there, because you're more into music than I am. I mean, don't you think we're gonna be we're gonna be totally like the old guys now, always going like, the music today, but music today to me is horrible. Maybe is it just pop music? Do I have to just dig deeper and find? I mean, music is
That's the
so
whole
bad.
thing. There is a lot of great music, but it's not being
Okay, so it's just me being stupid, putting the radio. Don't listen to the
no,
radio.
it's not being produced by the major record companies. The major record companies
Okay.
are McDonald's now. They are putting
Right.
out they're
Just
putting out low low
oh,
nutritional fast food
right.
junk that people will buy by the billions. It's all cookie cutter
There it
stuff.
is. Oh,
Independent music is where it's at. Finding the gems is becoming much harder because we
you gotta
have so
search for
much
it.
more to choose from. And if you go on the streaming services, you will get stuff that kind of recognizes your taste and what you do. But there's still so much buried that without doing a lot of digging, it becomes really hard to get. There's good positive things and negative things about this whole idea of people being able to publish themselves and all that. For one thing, people who would never have a chance to be heard now
Right.
have a chance to be heard, but that chance is slim because there's so much crap in the way.
Right. It's just so oversaturated. Is that the word? It's just so
Yeah,
much.
oversaturated with just nonsense. But
Oh,
yeah, and I had a guy on last night, Cliff Beach, who's a funk artist from California, from Los Angeles, and really 70s sounding, very authentic funk music. And I was like, it's
oh,
there.
that's awesome. I
It,
love that.
yeah, is there a market for that, and how do you reach your audience?
Yes.
Because there's no radio stations that are going to play commercial radio and terrestrial radio. And I asked, like, is radio gonna be a thing 10 years from now? I know people
True.
still, it's built into your car, but even
It's still in the
people
car, but yeah.
people will take their Bluetooth and their phone and go that
Yeah.
way and then put on Spotify. So I don't know what the future of radio is. People are still paying big advertising dollars to be on
But you're right. 10
commercial
years from
radio.
now, will there even be? Yeah, radio. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just weird. I mean, my son is 23, right? And he likes older music way better. I'm so glad the kid, he just figured it out on his own. He's like, he likes Elvis, the Rolling Stones. I mean, he goes back to the 60s, 70s, 80s. If it just sounds good, he likes it. He likes all kinds of music, and he thinks the music today is terrible. But I guess we're only talking about, you just got to dig deeper. We're just talking about pop music, what they play on the radio, and it's just awful. It doesn't even sound like music to me right now.
Yeah.
I can't even.
I used to be shocked by young people into the music that I was into, because I tried to kind of relate it to when I was a kid, and I could not. There was no way I was going to listen to anything my parents were into, and
Right.
but as I grew older, I started to like that stuff. But I was, I was on this thing for a couple of years where it was a revelation to me, because we were playing for audiences from 2 to 92, and to see teenagers getting into the music we were playing, which is in my mind oldies. It's
Oh yeah, the oldies.
classic rock, but classic rock is oldies now.
It
But
is.
they were into it, and I was like, wow, this is really strange. But I chalk it up to it's in a lot of movies, and it's in so much pop culture now. Every hit movie, it will have like at least a snippet of some classic rock in the background and scenes and stuff like that. Puts it into the mass perception of what what we're all living through, this whole experience of life.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
But you're still. I love that you're still playing, man. That's awesome. I mean, you still play. You still. If we're looking at your Facebook, it looks like you still play like a lot, right? You're not just
Not as much as we used to, but it's still
you're still
two.
getting gigs, and
Yeah, 2 or 3 band gigs a week.
that's
Generally,
great. A week, yeah.
and the
Awesome.
solo shows I probably do 4
That's
a week
awesome,
by
man.
myself.
That's great.
But we were in our 40s and 50s. See, I'm the only one who still has I would be gigging 7 nights a week if my
Yeah,
bandmates would do it.
yeah,
They're all now, and they're younger than me. They're all like turning 60, 61 around
right.
there, but they are ready to sit on the couch with the wife and watch the Yankees. You know?
Yeah, but I was going to go, come on, what do they say? 60's the new 50. Don't you hate that when they go, that's so overdone. 60's the new 50. Like, no, it's not.
Yeah,
20's the new 20. No, it's not. Come on.
Well, also, I mean, probably my wife and I have a different kind of relationship where we're not television watchers anyway. We if we do stuff
That's a
together,
good
it's
thing,
not
though.
going to be
That's a good
sitting,
thing.
sitting on the couch and
No.
watching television. Because I'll fall asleep anyway. You know, I can't watch television without falling asleep. Even if I was at a friend's house and they had television on and they put me on the couch, it's only a matter of moments before I nod off because it just does that to me. It's like a sedative.
Right. Well, my girlfriend and I, we like movies, like all kinds of movies. I mean, even the old black and white. I mean, she's playing older films that she's got. And yeah, okay, there's Tubi and all this stuff on Freevee. I don't know what, we don't have Netflix. You got all these things you can go to, but she has like a library of just so many, films. And I even said to her one time, so we were on the streak of like everything was bad. I said, we just got to go for. She's like, I want to watch something tonight. I go, I'm sick of watching movies. Wait, we'll just go for the best one. I think it's the best movie of all time, The Godfather. So we just watched The Godfather one night. But like I'm falling asleep, and she's going like, oh, did you see that? I'm like, thank God I know the movie. Like, yes, it's a very important part. Wow, Brando, yes. Brando's he's so awesome in that scene, Brando. Yes.
Well, The Godfather is one
I
of
think
these.
it's the best. I don't know.
It's one of the I don't know, markers in my life. One of these
Okay.
because when I was 9 years old, the kid who lived across the street from me, who was always telling long tales and stories out of school, he came in and he said, "My father's in a movie with Marlon Brando," and I was like, "Wow!" I never even heard of Marlon Brando. I went and told my parents. I said, "Lenny says his father's in a movie with Marlon Brando. You know Lenny. He's always lying to you. Don't believe Lenny." And then it turned out his father was playing the part of Luca Brasi in The Godfather. It was like, wow. And so,
oh wow,
yeah. So my whole neighborhood.
So
of
you knew
course,
Luca Brasi's son, the actor.
yeah. I still he's
And Luca's the big huge guy, right? I mean, I
yeah.
know the movie.
He was a wrestler before,
Right.
but then he was actually Joe. Oh man, I can't think of his name now. Anyway, Joe Colombo. He was Joe Colombo's bodyguard. And
right, Columbo was like the big,
yes. So what happened
he
was
was the
they
Don.
wanted
He was the real life Don, right?
right. Colombo was the mob boss for the Gambino
Mob boss.
family at that time,
At
and
the time, yes.
he wanted to stop the production of The Godfather because he thought it was casting too much on the mafia.
Perfect. You said that because you led me right to it. I don't know how accurate it is, but there's a mini series. It's called The Offer. Did you see that?
Yeah. There's
it's so good, man.
There's some fake stuff in there,
I
or
love that.
wrong stuff and mistimed stuff in there that I wanted to. I've been meaning to do what the offer got wrong because I know some of the things that got wrong. Like for instance,
I'm sure it did. Yeah, because it's got to be entertaining and.
Yeah, and they changed timelines. Like Joey Gallo's murder was not while they were shooting the film. I mean,
right.
It was after the movie had come out, but all that stuff. There's a lot of stuff like that they got wrong.
Which kind of stinks because you're watching going, oh wow, this is so cool. That's how they. And then if it's not accurate, but whatever.
It's pretty accurate, but there are a few things that were just
okay.
Changed for.
It's pretty accurate, but they
it,
had to just some of the stuff,
yeah. But
awesome, and just to watch it come together, though, you know what I mean,
right?
And how they just now this is true though, right? That they absolutely was it Robert Evans, who wasn't even he was just the it was Paramount, right? He was the studio head, the main guy there, did not just vehemently did not want Al Pacino. Think about that. Al
Right.
was so good. I can't picture anybody else so good as Michael.
Right. And
He did not want him.
the guy who played Evans in The Offer, phenomenal, man. I think that guy deserves an Oscar. I know it's not
Yes, he crushed it. He was so Robert Evans, because I've seen
Yeah.
Evans in documentaries just talking. Oh my God, he crushed it.
My friend Andy Andrews.
What a character that guy is, though. Wouldn't it be great just to know him? I mean, if you're on his good side, Robert Evans. Hey, come here. Come here. I got something for you, kid. Hey, kid. I love the whole idea. All right, we're gonna make a movie. Wait, stop by. He's just fast talking, just on fire producer. Just to be around him in the room. Yes, sir. I'll get you some coffee.
He was a very unusual guy. I remember seeing him on talk shows. He had a book that came out called the Kid Stays in the Picture.
Kid Stays in the Picture,
and he was doing like a bunch of talk shows and stuff. And I was fascinated by him then. Andy Andrews, who is a friend who is a stand-up comic based in Oregon, he's been on the show a dozen times, and he talks about being at Robert Evans' house. They had a big party for Evans and Slash. I don't know if you remember this. We're doing a animated show on Comedy Central, and Andy was one of the writers for the Man Show on Comedy Central, and they had this big party for the premiere, and Evans invited all the people, and he was at Evans' house, and he saw Evans, and the first thing out of his mouth was, "Hey, Bob, where's the blow?" And that didn't go over too well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, Evans just, wow. And the guy, he really liked Jack Nicholson, so I like that connection. Jack Nicholson's my favorite actor of all time.
Yeah.
So to hear Robert Evans, the character playing him, I'm just like a little kid. I don't know why. It's just cool. Like in The Offer, he's on the phone with him. Jack, hey, Jack, buddy, Jack, what's going on, baby? And it's like,
baby.
I'm not doing it right. I'm not an impressionist.
Yeah, neither am I. But
more of an actor.
That guy was so good in that, and I'm surprised Matthew something. I can't remember his last name, but he was so good in that, man. I can't believe he didn't get more acclaim for the way he played. He was in a way doing an impression, but it was so good that it was compelling. I couldn't wait.
That one worked.
Yeah. I couldn't wait to see him and more. Get him back in the scene.
That means you're doing good.
Yeah.
The cool thing about Robert Evans too is that you figure like you see him and you go, oh, total egomaniac. But he was smart. He figured he knew he wasn't a good actor. He kept trying. He was a good looking guy, but he realized I don't have it. He was just an okay actor. That's all I'm going to be is okay. And then he kind of, I don't know exactly how, but the story is that he segued into producing, and then there's the whole career. So awesome.
Yeah, well, I don't get, and I appreciate it and admire the ability to switch gears between your creative mind and your business mind, but I don't get the business mind at all. I'm not very business even though I've helped some.
I wish I was, man. I'm right with you there. Yeah, because
yeah.
Why not? You're still involved in it. If I did produce more, I got into movie producing or whatever, it's just, I'm not business savvy.
So what you say you do a lot of writing. Do you, what is the format of you writing? Are you writing plays? Are you writing screenplays? What do you write?
Since I can remember, like from college, I got into writing poetry. So I write a lot of poems. I journal a lot, and then I would always, I don't know if it's the ADHD, I can't, maybe like when I'm 70, if I'm still alive, I can't sit still long enough to focus and write like a novel, but I've written some short stories. And of course, because I'm an actor, recently I've written 2 one-act plays. They're like, 10 and then 15 minutes. And one of them, a gentleman who's teaches here, and he's been involved in theater for a long time here, Len Fonte, great guy. He's a writer, and he actually picked me to be in a play because like somebody dropped out. It's like, well, we'll get Jay, which felt good. I felt honored that Len called me and reached out to me and said, Jay, this guy dropped out of my play. It's a play that I wrote. It's going to get produced at this thing in Syracuse. It's like called Saltland Festival. The first year ever they're going to do it. Saltland Festival is 2 weekends of all these different original like plays written by local people or anybody, get submitted. and he wrote this play called Sundowning, and it was a tough role. I did a good job with it. It was hard. It wasn't comedy, it was drama. And I just, was talking to him, and he said, I'll look at it. And that's the first thing. I'm like, oh man. So I sent him the one act, and just to have him go, this has potential. He was honest. He wasn't saying it was great. So I still he's busy. I got to hook up with him. So I'm like, well, give me notes and help me, and then I want to edit it. So, I think that could be a thing over time. Keep working because I love acting, man. But it's just you just want to kind of evolve. You just want to always be like, acting is the worst thing because you have like no control, really. You're just always going, hire me, please. It doesn't matter what, you're always trying to get hired, or at least, locally, maybe it's not hired, but picked. Can I audition? Can I be in a play? You're just always kind of begging. So if you're writing, you're still involved and you're writing it. So I do want to be, I don't know if I could ever write a full length one, but I do hopefully one day. I'm just writing one act right now. So 9,000 words. The short answer is I write like poems, poetry, a little bit in the short story thing, and then plays. I do like to write. Wow. And obviously I wrote my stand-up comedy. That's the last thing I should be bragging about. I don't really, my jokes are always like, it's almost funny, Jay. I just don't quite hit it with the joke writing.
Yeah, I'm impressed that you are open to, give me notes, because a lot of people are.
Right. Yeah. He's written stuff. I like what like that play was pretty solid play. I could see that play getting produced like maybe off Broadway.
Yeah,
it's good.
All right,
what Len wrote.
Let's plug West Side Story. It's August 4th, 5th. Is it 3rd, 4th, and 5th?
First 2 weekends, 4th, 5th, 6th, 11th, 12th, 13th. Yes, first 2 weekends of August.
Times?
Yeah. It's outdoor, 5:30. The Friday and Saturday, the 4th and 5th, they're at 5:30. The 6th, the Sunday, is a 2:00 matinee. 11th and 12th, Friday, Saturday, 5:30, and 13th is 2:00.
And bring blankets or a folding chair or something like that.
Yes,
at least a blanket, because you're going to be sitting on grass.
You can bring drinks.
Right. What about concessions and stuff? Should they bring their own snacks and stuff?
Well, no. Cool. No, but there's a little snack shack that you can go, like on an intermission, you go up and they sell hot dogs and things like that. But some people like to bring their own.
These are important things we have to let people know about, Jay. When you plug in stuff, you got to get all these details in there.
Thanks. I'm sorry. I'm new at this. See, give me notes, man. Help me.
Well, I appreciate it. West Side Story is a great play. I encourage people in the Syracuse area, get out there, support the arts, and support our friend Jay. And it's been great to see you again. Don't hesitate to come back anytime, man. You're always welcome.
So I was on last month, so maybe in about 3 or 4 months I'll bug you again.
Okay.
I love watching your show. You do a great job. I try to watch when I can. I know you see me comment every now and then. I try to get in there. It's tough sometimes.
You're always welcome, man. I appreciate you being here, and it's good to talk to you and good to see you again. And as often as you want. Don't worry. Don't let it cross your mind. I'm just
all right, man. Thank you.
The Jay Moranti Show.
Great being on the show. Thanks, man.
Bye for now. Have a great day.
All right.
Bye. I'm not sure if Robert Taylor is going to join us today, but we do have a piece from Donna Shannon, as we always do on Thursdays now. This is her 4th piece of slightly irrelevant reviews. I'm going to pull it up right now. Here it is. This week she's reviewing the movie It, which is a Stephen King thing about scary clowns. Here it is.
Hey everybody, it's Donna Shannon, and I am here to give you another slightly irrelevant review. What I want to talk to you about today is It. Yes, we're going to talk about It. You know, that whole terrifying movie about the clown who eats children, dwells in the sewer, all the rest of those things. Yeah, there's more than Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles down there. You might actually get eaten by a killer clown, if you're a kid. But specifically, there are 2 different types of It that came out. Beyond the book, of course, by Stephen King. That's the original source material. But there was the miniseries that came out in 1990 starring Tim Curry. There was It that came out in 2017 starring Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise the Clown. And then there's It Chapter 2 that came out in 2019. Specifically, I want to talk a little bit more about the original It with Tim Curry. This is the TV miniseries that gave my middle child, Jasmine, horrific nightmares and a lifelong fear of clowns. Yes, that's entirely my fault. So, how did that happen? Well, it was a TV miniseries, so me and my first husband were just sitting there in the living room watching the TV, and we had 3 kids at the time, and so it was like utter chaos all the time. And the kids were, my oldest was 4, Jasmine was 3, Malcolm was 1, and so I don't think he was too impacted by what was going on in the TV, but anyways, all the time the kids were just playing in the living room with their toys. They weren't paying that much attention all the time to the TV. But all of a sudden, it was one of those weird moments when things go completely quiet and everybody is just staring laser focused at the TV. But it's in the scene where one of the kids that Pennywise is like trying to terrify and just, like the core group of nerds, the Losers Club, I believe they call themselves. But this kid was in the showers at school. He's the only one there. All the shower heads start coming in at him, blasting hot water, hurting him towards the middle of the room through this big shower drain. And up in the shower drain come these huge clown hands, extends the hole, and then Pennywise's head pops out. And you never saw so many terrified children in my living room as when Pennywise showed up out of the shower drain. Yeah, so I am absolutely convinced that that was the scene that gave Jasmine the lifelong fear of clowns. Not to mention a lot of nervousness around really big shower drains. Just made them feel at unease forever. But here's the thing. Jasmine didn't remember that incident. They think they got the fear of clowns from when their grandparents took all the kids to the Ringling Brothers Circus, and the clowns were doing this bit where they were like shoving people from the audience into a dryer or a washing machine. I don't know. I wasn't there. It does sound pretty awful. Clowns, can't trust them. Man, just freaky, freaky clowns. But then when it came out in 2017 and Jasmine was planning on going to opening night, I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you going to see this? Aren't you terrified of clowns? And they're like, yeah, that's what's going to make it so good. All right, freaky child, whatever. But anyways, definitely if you want to talk a little bit more about the movies, Bill Skarsgård in the modern It's, I think, just is creepy as anything. Definitely nails that. Tim Curry's It from the 1990 definitely has some awesome moments, but here's the problem. The mini-series probably does follow the movie closer, or actually the book closer, in that it's the kids are all the adults. They have to come back to Derry 27 years later because it is appearing again. They have to come back and honor their pact to try to kill it again. Whereas the modern one just does all the storyline with the kids, not flashbacks, not disjointed kind of storyline. And I think it's a lot more effective that way. Certainly they go a lot deeper into the terror and terrifying children and eating children and showing bloody children than the TV version does. So of course I'm going to like that better. So there you go. Definitely one note on It, the TV series from 1990. I have to warn you about this so you're not mad at me later on. The ending is complete and total garbage. Yes, it's bad. It's really bad. Because, you're already 6 hours invested into this thing. Because it was a TV miniseries, or however long it is. I don't remember. But it gets to that end, fight with the monster, and it's like the worst CGI, or not even CGI, it was a stop-motion animation, craptacular monster. It was like, okay, it's not what is it? It's what is it? And it's a really big disappointment. And definitely they do a better job of wrapping up the final storyline in Chapter 2 from 2019. So there you go. Go renew your own Terror of Clowns and enjoy children getting eaten. This has been Donna Shannon with Slightly Irrelevant Reviews. If you like what I'm doing, please be sure to check out my own podcast, Donna Shannon's Coyote Tales, on all your major platforms. Later.
Donna Shannon, I'm getting more out of those pieces. I'm enjoying them. I hope you are too. And you know what? Scary Clowns were never my thing. I'm not going to be watching that movie. I promise you that. Or even the original miniseries. I'm not sure if Robert Taylor is going to be joining us. Thursday is generally his day. I haven't heard from him in a couple of days now, so I'm not sure if he's going to be joining us. Kind of a weird week. Lori is kind of MIA. Lori's piece was supposed to air yesterday, but she hadn't delivered a piece this week. I'm wondering if she's just getting burnt out with it, running out of idea. What? I don't know. I hope she's okay. Have not heard from her. Haven't seen her on social media, so I'm hoping she's all right. If continue to support these people, regardless of whether they deliver a piece this week or not. Jackie Martling's documentary. Listen, if you're a fan of the old Stern Show, the groundbreaking Stern Show, not the crap that it is today. And I listen, I was never that big a fan of Howard Stern anyway. We've talked about that. But Jackie's documentary came out on Tuesday. Don't know the name of it. The Joke Man, I think is the name of the documentary. It's out now. And if you are a fan of groundbreaking days of Stern Show, it's a must-see. It's now, in a couple of days, I believe it's number 4 on Apple TV. It's doing really well, but could always use more eyes on it. If you're a fan, check it out. The link is all over my social media. If you follow me on social media, you'll see it. It's just like Jenny.us. Let me see what it is. Hold on a second. Yeah. Actually, I just got a thing from, it's 4th on Apple TV. Fittest on Earth, Retro Acts, The League, Lost Century, and The Joke, and just Joke Man is the name of it. It's already got 4 stars, plenty of reviews, and doing very well. Check that out and support Jackie. Now, Stand Up Memories, which Jackie does with Peter Bales, is having its 4th season start and the premiere. I'm not sure. I think it's going to be. Listen, the voice is becoming Jordan Peterson, and this is like a daily thing now. I'm channeling Jordan Peterson. I think it's going to be at the Tied In Studios, but they are doing it live. You can get live if you're on Long Island in the Plainview area, especially. You can go see it live and be part of the show live. It's the 23rd, I believe, is the taping, which is 3 days from now. That's Sunday. Yeah, it is. I'm not sure of the date on that. You know what? I'll get back to you on that tomorrow. We'll find out the dates. I have an email about that, but they're doing it live. So anyway, again, I'm not sure if Robert's going to be joining us. Robert seems. I hate to have a Marine MIA. Right now, I want to talk about the Rogan clips, and I'm gonna play these clips and see if I can point out some. They're kind of long, and I appreciate, if I could cut them up. I didn't have time to cut them up. I just saw them last night, but they're both about lack of self-awareness. I'm gonna let's see here. Hold on one second here. I see Robert's in the back. I'm going to bring him in 1 second. He can help me comment on some of these if he so chooses. First one I want to play is the one with Segura. It's 7 minutes long. I don't think I'm going to play the whole thing, but I just want to get some of it and give you some commentary on it, because the lack of self-awareness is astonishing here.
Cop, and every time you pull someone over, we've all seen those videos of cops getting shot. Oh, yeah. We've all seen those videos of cops pulling people over, and then the windows explode and people fire on them. We've all seen those. They've seen them too. They know people who've been shot. Yeah. They have no idea who you are. They have no idea what's going on. Yeah. So when they come up to that car, they are at a heightened state. They have to be. They are literally, to a criminal, they're the professional enemy.
Yeah.
Their job is to be the enemy of the criminal.
Yeah.
It's a fucking crazy position to be in society, and we don't treat it with enough respect.
Yeah.
And when the consequence, when it goes badly, all we think about is that officer, and that's a representative of all police officers. But it's not true.
It's true. I think a lot of people too, it's kind of hard. Like a lot of people, they go into getting pulled over with a heightened sense of emotion themselves.
Sure.
Which, if you are that person getting pulled over for whatever you got pulled over for, if that's your like mentality in that moment, you are actually going to escalate things. You are, as the person getting
100%.
And it does take an effort to go, okay, this guy, like you said, he's walking up here in a heightened state.
Yeah.
Like, I can diffuse things. I can diffuse them.
Yes.
By how I conduct this.
Yes.
But some people, you know, first you have the people that are like the legal scholars who want to lecture the police officer on his rights. Like, yeah, you can do that, man.
Right.
Or there's I have friends who are like, I hate cops. Cops are all pigs, you know, like, and I've watched them speak to police officers in a way where I'm like, Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's so disrespectful.
So stupid.
I go, yeah, but you are making this worse.
Right.
All right. Now, I'm going to stop right there. First of all, the lack of self-awareness in this piece. Now, this is all the title of this clip, and Rogan put this clip out there, was about entitlement. Good morning, Robert, by the way. I didn't say good morning to you. How are you? Basically, the crux of this whole clip is about people feeling entitled. Now, you have two rich celebrities talking about what to do when pulled over by a cop to avoid escalating a situation or making the cop feel more nervous and more threatened by you. Neither of these guys have black skin or dark color, you know, people of color at all. Both of them are well-known celebrities. They have no idea what it is. You know, put yourself in the shoes of a young black kid, say, you know, early 20s. He's not a celebrity. Nobody knows who he is. And he's got in his head all the shootings and police brutality that he's seen committed on young black youth. You're going to tell him, you know what, the best scenario for you is just to submit yourself and be respectful. And obviously, it's easier to do when you are a rich celebrity and everybody knows you. And these guys have no awareness of this. They are just basically coming at it from their own perspective without having any sense of what goes on for real people. I'm going to continue this. I'm not sure if this is the right point here.
I have a real trigger too for like disrespect or even perceived disrespect, you know, where I then become like, I almost got arrested at an airport one time for this. You know, I ended up calling the TSA agent a pig, but again, that was a few years ago. But this was like this. I looked at her and I was like, and in my mind, I could have said like escalated things, and I just thought, I go, you know what, this, like, I don't know why she's an asshole. I don't know what's going on. I just went, yeah, I think I'm just gonna sleep. I go, I'm just gonna sleep. She's like, okay, and just walked away. And she was clearly rude.
Yeah.
And like, I'd never been spoken, like most flight attendants, when you go, I was gonna sleep, they're like, yeah, I'll check on you later, see if you want to eat then. Like,
yeah,
we'll keep it warm for you. They're she was so rude, but I just was like, just why make this a thing? You know, I was just like, I go, I'm just gonna sleep.
It might be hard to find people to do that now.
All right, now I'm just gonna. You missed. I came in a little bit late on that clip, but what he's talking about there is he's flying first class on commercial airline, and he asked for breakfast, and they're serving lunch, and the stewardess says, "No, we're doing lunch now." This is what happens. They prepare a mass meal before they board the plane because they know this is the lunch hour. He's asking for breakfast. The flight attendant says to him, "We're doing lunch now," and he feels like, "How dare you not serve me the meal that I want, even though everybody else is doing this now. It's that time now. Don't you know who I am? I'm in first class. It's so rude of you not to give me breakfast when I want breakfast." Again, this is about entitlement. They're complaining about entitled people here, and people of entitlement. And there they are acting like, "Hey, you know what? I deserve better than that." Good morning, Robert. I'm just commenting, as you see, on the Joe
Yeah,
Rogan.
I saw that clip when it came out too the other day. It's always, but it always starts out whatever topic they're on. They could be talking about a mass murder or something like that, and Joe Rogan always throws in, "Hey, some of my best friends are mass murderers," or "Yeah, I know a lot of mass murderers." Or it doesn't matter what it is. He's got friends, or he knows somebody who did it.
It's
You know,
remarkable how many friends both of these guys, Segura too. Like I have friends who just are rude to cops all the time. Like you hang out with a lot of normal people.
yeah, yeah.
I don't see it.
Well, when he got me when he first started talking about the incident. He says a TSA agent, and I'm sitting here thinking, no, they would have bitch slapped your ass and had you in a cubicle with their hand up your ass, body cavity searching you, if that had been a TSA agent. But then I find out he's talking about a flight attendant.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, yeah. I don't know where. I don't fly first class. I flew first class last year. I treated myself on my birthday when I flew to Hawaii and back, right? And but it wasn't like old first class. It wasn't a. I mean, it was kind of a joke. It was the only difference was he had more leg room.
Right.
So I don't know what he was expecting on first class.
And it's the irony of it being about entitled people, and they're just worried about people who aren't rich acting entitled, but their entitlement is off the charts. Like, I deserve breakfast. I deserve you create a special meal for me in advance before we take off, so that if I want anything, breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or even a late night snack, you have it ready for me. And it's rude if you don't. And listen, unlike Rogan, I'm a fan of Tom Segura's comedy.
Yeah, I
But
like
the
it too.
more I hear of him, I'm not a fan of his personality at all. He was outraged that homeless people are allowed to have property. On a previous clip with Rogan, he was talking about if you try to take, like, if they're a homeless person, if you've been put out of your home for whatever reason, and you take your belongings with you, people don't have a right to go through. And he was outraged that people don't have a right to just take your belongings. If you leave, you're thrown out of your home, and you have a bureau, a dresser full of precious memories and all your life belongings in there, one little drawer thing. People aren't allowed to touch that. How dare they have protected property? Like, are you kidding me? Are they not human beings still? You want people to lose their home and lose everything. If you lose your home for whatever reason, you should leave all your belongings behind and have absolutely nothing. That's Tom Segura's.
Well, yeah, but then you got to put it in perspective. They live in an altered reality because he's on there bitching about not getting breakfast on a commercial flight, right? But if you go back a few episodes, Rogan before, or some other interviews, he's on there talking about how he treats himself to a private jet, in between stops.
I think on that clip, he actually says, "I don't fly commercial anymore." He just goes to
Private jets because it's more convenient in between stops and stuff like that. They forget where they come from, man.
Yeah.
Fame and fortune or whatever, does that. Matter of fact, I forgot. I got to check and see if I won the freaking Powerball last night. This could be my last show.
Oh yeah. Well, or you could own the show if you want.
But those guys, man, they love to talk. They love to talk about where they came from and how tough it was coming up and stuff like that. But then they forget. There's still other people. How about the person how about the flight attendant? She could be doing some, I forget what they call them, where they go from one place to another and turn around and go right back again. uh, the turnaround or whatever with no rest. She could have been on some double shift or whatever, having a bad day or,
Right.
or you know,
And let me just say this about that what you're talking about is this idea of forgetting where you came from. We tend to think that that happens to everybody, but I have interviewed plenty of celebrities now, and I've talked to many celebrities, and some of them are still down to earth, regular people, and they treat you as an equal, even though they've had all this celebrity and big time fame and fortune, but they don't lose track of the fact that we are just people. So it's not something that has to happen just because you become
yeah, it's
famous or
a lot of that's who you are. You
right,
know, it's a lot just because you achieve fame and fortune. What's the old saying? Zebras don't change their stripes or whatever. You know, you still who you are
right,
deep down inside. It's just like when they say if someone who has really poor money management skills and lives paycheck to paycheck, if they win the Powerball, usually they don't change their habits and they end up losing all the money, pissing it away or whatever. It's the same thing with how people behave because yeah, like you're saying. I mean, especially when I lived out in California and San Diego and stuff. I mean, I used to meet celebrities all the time. A lot of them were like local celebrities, like uh, you know Padres players and Charger players because I worked in a bar. It was near the stadium, and they would come in there. And for the most part, most of them acted like regular people.
yeah,
They did. I
yeah.
mean, so it's how you were raised, and how you grew up and taught to behave. And if you were a shit growing up, you can play for the cameras and you can play the game to progress up through the ranks or whatever in your profession. But then once they get to a certain point, man, you find out who they really are.
It's
And
an entitlement attitude, and there's two guys who are talking about entitlement attitudes who display it, and no self-awareness that this is going right over their head. That they're talking about themselves.
yeah,
What I wanted to play that clip, and I thought it was irony on display there. I have another one. It's 13 minutes long. I'm not going to play that. When I started the show this morning, I said. And you being in South Carolina, I'm wondering if you know about this. Last night in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, or early this morning, tornadoes hitting that area were a major story on my phone that came up. I haven't seen anything about it. Do you know anything about that?
no, I haven't. I haven't checked. I haven't been online to check the news or anything.
How far are you from there, in, Rocky Point, North
Rocky
Carolina?
Mountain. That's
Rocky Mountain.
probably
Right.
at least 3 hours. It's on.
Okay.
It's north of where your brother lives. It's north of Raleigh, Durham. That's where
Right, I know I go through there on the drive down, and because I always equate it with Rocky Point, which is the town next door, which is why I just said Rocky Point, Rocky Mount, and then I start singing Rocky Top as I'm trying
I went by there about a month ago. Yeah, over in Tennessee, Rocky Top, Tennessee.
Rocky
It's a real
Top,
place.
Tennessee.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a real place.
I
But no,
wonder.
I haven't heard anything about it. That's not that rare around here. We're in hurricane season too now. We haven't gotten a hurricane yet. But I said
Yeah,
something. I think I said something. I don't know if it was on here or not. A couple of weeks ago, I was talking about how it was a slow news day. They're just the news crews were just hoping on a school shooting or something because there's nothing going on or a tornado or whatever to fill the news day. And yeah, if nothing else is going on, that'll be a big story. They'll send the top correspondents to Rocky Mount and everything like that. But as soon as they find out Trump's been indicted again or Biden fell on a banana peel or something, then you forget all about it, man.
or Jason Aldean has created a fake outrage about his
Yeah,
song in order to
you know
bump it up.
what? I was riding my bike. I was listening to you when you were talking about that. And that made me think of something. And I know exactly where they got that from. It's the one country singer, Morgan Wallen or whatever. About a year ago, he used the N-word. They found some footage of him using the N-word, and he got canceled for about a week. And all they did was they just turned it around and said, "Oh man, he's getting canceled. He's a good God-loving country music." And now he's like back at the top of the charts. And
Right.
I bet you what happened was, I don't know if he's in the same record company or whatever as Aldine. But I bet you they looked at that and said, well, we could try this.
Yep, absolutely. That's what it. And Morgan now has, I think, 4 songs in the top 40 right now.
Yeah, yeah. So it worked, and
Yeah.
and they're using that a lot now, not just in music or entertainment, in real life.
Yeah.
They're using that.
He's a Kid Rock wannabe. If you look at him, he looks like he grew up his whole life wanting to be Kid Rock. I mean, his personality, the way he carries himself, all that stuff. I don't want to start bashing him now because I bash enough people. But this is definitely the mindset in Nashville now: is create outrage about stuff, and maybe that'll help. Because unfortunately, both sides buy into it. First, they create this false outrage. They put the calls out and say, "Oh, well, that's terrible." And you get a bunch of bots saying that the Jason Aldean song is terrible and racist and violent, promotes violence. And then the left says, "Wait, what? We don't know about this." They go into it and they check it out. And, oh yeah, it does. And then they start on it. And then the right folk comes back. Well, that's cancel culture, and we can't allow these woke people to shut stuff down. And now both sides are fighting about it. Meanwhile, he's rising in the charts from a song that sucks and was dead in the water anyway.
Well, that's what the marketing people hope, is that the other side is going to buy it, take the bait and buy into it. So then it just elevates the exposure, and then everybody buys into it. And this guy's sitting back, just making the money on some shit song, that shouldn't be, that for a reason wasn't moving up the charts, All
right, here's what I want to do. I want you to say something really complimentary about the leader of North Korea there, and I will put out South Carolina former Marine says glowing things about North Korea's leader, and then we'll cause some outrage about it, and then everybody will be watching your reels and stuff, and you'll blow up.
What's funny is, I was sitting there yesterday looking at that story about that Army soldier that freaking, whatever you want to call it, he deserted, but this is how stupid he is. This just shows you how stupid some people are. Okay, because I was in South Korea before. He got in trouble for doing some damage to a Korean cop car, and I think he punched a citizen in the face or something. So he did some time. I think he did a few months, and he had to pay some restitution. So the worst that was going to happen to him was they were going to put him on a plane. They ship him back to Texas to his unit. They probably throw him in the brig for a while. He goes through the process, and they kick him out of the Army. That's what's going to happen to him. It's not going to be some big story or whatever like that. So this moron decides he's going to desert to North Korea. Okay, first of all, he's going to North Korea, which has, I looked it up, which has the highest modern slavery rate on the planet. They ship their own citizens out to Russia and other countries as slaves, right? He's going to desert to a country that has the highest slavery rate in the world, and he's probably the only black person in the whole country.
Right.
So what are the odds that he's going to be singled out? Right. So he has no idea what he's done, and he's probably not coming out.
Yeah, no, there's a reason people enlist in the Army. Not to say, it's the worst as far as IQ. The worst of the armed forces in the United States is the people who enlisted, the enlisted people in the Army. And I don't mean everybody who enlists in the Army, but they do take people with, who could barely graduate high school. Sometimes people who couldn't graduate high school. This is what the Army is all about. It's the lowest IQ enlistment.
It's the largest branch, so they have to take enough people to get in there.
Right.
I was in the Army before I was in the Marines.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's the first I've ever heard of anybody switching, and I know it's not that uncommon.
It was in the Army National Guard, but I still went through Army boot camp and at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. And then I was in. The reason I got out was I was bored and I wanted to go somewhere. I wanted to travel or whatever. And there was so much nepotism in the National Guard.
Right.
Because it's where you live. And it's like cousins and uncles and brothers all in there together. I mean, my father and brother were in the same unit I was in, but I was working in a textile plant at night on the graveyard shift, and then I would do the National Guard drill on the weekend and stuff like that. And I was like, man, I joined the damn. This will show you how screwed up that was. I joined the Marines to get out of the freaking textile mill and the National Guard.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, but when I joined the Marines, I thought boot camp was going to be the same as the Army, and I showed up with this big luggage, this big suitcase. I had beach swim trunks, I had towels, underwear, and they took all that. You don't take anything to Marine Corps boot camp; they take everything you have,
Right.
And they make you pay for everything that you get. In the Army, you don't pay; you just turn it in. But there's the mentality is it doesn't even compare, man. Like I'm doing a show. I'm doing that show not this weekend, but the next weekend. It's like this armed forces comedy competition in Fayetteville, up where Fort Bragg is, and it'll be mostly Army people. It's in a big theater. It'll be mostly an Army crowd, and I'll do my stuff, man. And I get on them, you know, the whole time. But you're right. It's since it is the largest branch.
Yeah. They take an awful lot of too many people who really shouldn't be serving at all. But let me ask you about this. First of all, you said Fort Bragg. Is it still Fort Bragg? I thought they were going to change the name.
They might. I don't know if they changed the name of that one yet or not.
Yeah.
I haven't heard it. I don't think so.
But more importantly, when you were going through boot camp as a Marine who was formerly in an Army National Guard, did Marines give you any shit about that? Because
well, here's the thing. There was another guy in my platoon at Paris Island who used to tell everybody he was prior service. I never told any. They knew it on my record, and I don't know if the drill instructors knew that or not. I never told anyone during boot camp, never, because when they did find out about it, you paid the price, man. Because he did, just one guy did. He paid the price.
That's what I would think that, because you know, just from hearing the stories my brother told me. Now, my brother was 28 when he enlisted in the Marines, and that was like almost to the cutoff point. Like,
yeah, it's gotta be.
And they used to call him Grandpa in boot camp, and you know, but he was trying to compete with 18-year-olds and all that stuff. It was really difficult.
Well, when I went in the Marines, I was like almost 21. But the thing about it was, when I was in Army boot camp at Fort Sill, that's where they used to send the Marines after boot camp that were going to be in the field artillery. They went to Fort Sill, and they still had a drill instructor with them because they couldn't leave them loose on an Army base, you know. But they went to the same chow hall, so every day at chow, we'd have to stand there and we'd watch them march. It'd just be like a platoon, and they would march in, and man, you'd just be sitting there thinking, "Those guys got their shit together." It was like you sit watching, man. I never forgot that, you know. That's not why I joined the Marines. I just joined the Marines because I was trying to get in the Air Force, and I got in, and they wanted me to wait like 8 months to leave because so many people were trying to get in. And the Marine recruiter got my name and called me and said, "Hey, man, you can leave next month if you want to." And so that's why I joined the Marines, because I could leave the next month.
That's it. Well, we learned something new about you today. Now, tornado in North Carolina severely damaged the Pfizer plant. So I guess we're going to be short on vaccines now. I don't know if that's where they actually.
You know what? When I was in the Marines, I came home for leave one time, and I drove. One night I went to play basketball. It was like about a half hour away, and I drove back, and there was like when we were playing basketball indoors, it was raining, a big storm outside, and I drove back, and the town I'm from was from about 10 or 12,000 people, and as I was getting close to town, it was real dark, man. It was like, it was a rural area anyway, but and then I see a lot of ambulance lights and stuff like that, and I'm thinking, man, there must be a big wreck.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize I was actually in town. I thought I was on the outskirts of town. And while I was gone, a tornado had come through. It was a big deal back then, like 83 or something like that. And it was like a 50-mile stretch. It had dropped down and just cut through. And it wiped out an entire shopping center right there. And the place was kind of new too, man. I bet that Pfizer plant was one of those metal buildings though.
Yeah, the pictures, and that's what it looks like. It looks like one of those steel buildings, but it looks like an atom bomb hit it. It's really, I'm not
they
going to
come
show
up.
you.
The difference. The thing people think hurricanes are bad, but you know that the hurricane's coming. You
Right.
don't know the tornado's coming. They tell you that it might come. There's a watch, whatever, but those things just drop down, man, out of nowhere.
Well, the only being from up here, the only tornadoes I knew about actually happened in the middle of a hurricane. Like this is pretty common up here. We get these small twisters within a hurricane, and they would uproot trees and stuff. But my first real experience with a tornado. I was hitchhiking from Portales, New Mexico to Lubbock, Texas, and there was a tornado while we were out on the road, and all we could do was like lay in a ditch and hope it passed over us. It didn't come exactly where I was, but the hailstorms. We were laying in the ditch and we were getting pummeled with like gigantic hailstones, and we're afraid to get up.
When I was at Fort Sill in Oklahoma, which isn't far from where you're talking about, I was in the artillery, and they had these cannons. They look like tanks. They're called howitzers, right?
Right.
And you would get inside of them like a tank. And we had a tornado come up while we were out in the field. And it was hail, like, quarter size hail. And we got inside that thing. They weigh like 60 tons though. It wasn't moving.
Yeah.
But we got in there during a hailstorm too, man. Those things were real bad in the Southwest.
Yeah, scary storm. I think tornadoes are the scary because I've been in just about every kind of natural disaster you can. I've seen many hurricanes, been through some floods, some real bad floods, the perfect storm flood, been through earthquakes, but I would say tornadoes are been through fires too, but I would say tornadoes are the scariest thing that I've ever encountered.
My oldest son was born in Pennsylvania, eastern Pennsylvania, near Wilkes-Barre. And we stayed there for the first summer when he was born with my former in-laws. And we were doing something, and like a storm came up or whatever, and they had a tornado touch down, like 15-minute drive away.
Wow.
I didn't even know about it until the next day. It was in the newspapers. It was a big deal or whatever like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's going on with you now? You picked up some new shows in the last week that I saw you were posting about them. What's going on with you?
Well, I'm going to Virginia Saturday to open up for another improv show. Next week on Wednesday, I'll be up by your brother. I'll be in Durham. I think I'm doing like about 20 minutes at that one. And then the Saturday, it's about 10 days from now, I'm doing the Armed Forces one at, I think it's in Fayetteville. I guess it's still it's not on Fort Bragg, but that's why they're having it at that area. But what it is, I think they had it's kind of like the World Series, the comedy deal, where they had about 5 different satellites or whatever you want to call them, where you qualify or whatever. And there's 5 of us, I think, that are in the semifinals at this one. And the winner goes to Hollywood for the final or whatever. You only do 5 minutes. You do one set, 5 minutes, and that's it.
Wow.
But the lady that's running it, I sent you that information about, Robin. I had done some shows for her in Charleston, and she works with that Best Medicine Brigade that does a lot of stuff for veterans. I think they're actually working for the the VA out of there. They get some kind of support out of it, and they put this together. So yeah, that'll be fun. It's in this theater, and the shows that they've been having or been selling. I mean, they had one at the convention center in San Diego. It was sold out,
Right.
which is another military town too.
Right. I'm doing full band shows at the VA. Generally, the VA I always perform solo, but in August 18th, we're doing August 19th, we're doing a full band show at the VA up here. But in there, you're performing for all the services, including Coast Guard.
Well, that's my closer. I can't give it away. Somebody might be watching the show. That's my closing joke. I'll send it. I'm gonna video. I'll send it to you. But that's what I close with. I have a joke on that. And see, the thing about it is, they'll all gang in on it because it'll be mostly Army. So I'll be using a different branch, and they get in on it. But yeah, the inter-service rivalry, man, you got to use that, especially when you do those.
We played a private party for Coast Guard and Merchant Marine people one time, and it was just so odd because it was the farthest thing from what you would picture as military people. It seemed like, and on Long Island, I'm sure this is probably because this was the Atlantic Beach area of Long Island, and it's probably pretty common. But it was just drunk old boaters that ended up.
Check fishing license. That's what I used to say. I used to say the Coast Guard was a cross between the sheriff's department and the geek squad at Best Buy.
Yeah, or basically fishing boat captains who just happen to get enlisted somehow. That's what they are. They're basically people who go out on the weekends getting really drunk and they have big boats, and then Coast Guard says, "Hey, you qualify as a captain. You got your captain's license. We're gonna give you."
They get down in San Diego though. They get to bust all the cartels trying to bring the drugs up,
right?
And the submarines and all that crap like that. That'd be a good place to be stationed if you were in the Coast Guard, I guess.
Yeah, San Diego is a whole different. But I will say this: I sometimes take a ferry over to Connecticut from where I am, and since 9/11, things have really changed with that. Every time you take a ferry from Port Jefferson, Long Island to Bridgeport, Connecticut, there are gunboats that accompany the ferry.
I took that ferry before. I used to be a lifeguard at the beach in Bridgeport.
Wow.
My brother lived there. That's what a joke I made when you were talking about Massapequa Park killer or whatever. His wife, that's where they're from. They all went to high school in Massapequa.
Wow.
And we used to take that ferry across. Like I went over there for Thanksgiving or something like that for family get-togethers. But I was a lifeguard at that freaking beach right there where the ferry comes through. And I don't know if you've ever been to that beach before, but it's on the other side of the freaking ghetto.
Yeah, I know.
Right there. And no one comes to the beach. No one ever went to the beach. So we got paid and we just played beach volleyball all day, or no one came to the beach.
A lot of that around here. I mean, there are I had plenty of those jobs when I was a kid, beach attendants and lifeguards, and where nobody would go. My beach, if I go down to the beach right now, I'd be shocked if there's anybody on that beach. And it's a pristine beach, but nobody ever goes there. And it's not, we're on a ghetto, but not too far as a nuclear power plant.
This one had the chiropractic school right there. I guess it's still there. And we could go in there for $7 and the students would adjust us for $7. But there was some place right across where the water comes in. You know what I'm talking about. It's right over there. It was like this old, used to be a thriving place like years and years ago. And this was back in the mid 90s kind of. And the word was Trump was going to develop that into a casino and stuff. I don't remember what that place was called. It never happened though.
Right. We do have some casinos here now, but they're not full real casinos. They're not like Las Vegas or Atlantic City casinos where you can go in and play anything. They're mostly slot machine type of places. I just remembered that Jason sent me something to promo his comedy feedback thing. I'm just looking it up right now. I'll find out what it is. Hold on, I'm pulling it up. But it's a discount thing for.
Oh yeah, the code. You get like 20% off or something.
$25 discount code for viewers. The code is MindDog. Just when you go to comedyfeedback.com, you can use the code MindDog and get $25 off your introduction there and your consultation on that. So that's a good thing.
That's another reason I'm doing that show in Virginia, because I need another longer set video to send him for the feedback.
Now, what do you do with that? Do you just use a phone? What are you bringing?
Yeah, let's use a phone. Actually, I found in these improv theaters, they're usually kind of small. So if I use my tripod, it's like 6 feet tall or whatever. No one walks in front of the camera, and I get a good quality video out of it. I mean, I'm not going to send it to a booker. You could, I guess, but I'm getting it so he can hear what's going on or whatever.
Right. You know what's cool now, and I don't know if you're doing this already, but I have these little wireless mics that plug right
Yeah.
into your phone, and so even though you're using the mic on stage, you could have one of those on your lapel and get pristine
I need to get
audio.
one of those because JP was talking about it when he was on your show.
Yeah.
I need to get one of those. Yeah, I'm still waiting to get my videos back from the World Series shows I did.
Do they wait till it's all done? They're not going to wait.
Yeah, well, they say give them 4 weeks because they got so many people that they got to edit the videos for.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, so when I get that one, the one in Texas especially, that should be a good one. But you're always looking for a new one,
Right.
with new material, because by the time I do, like even on the videos that I did for World Series, some of those jokes I've already updated or changed. You know, so
one of the things, and I don't want to mention the guy's name because I don't want. There's a big. It's kind of, I'm almost reluctant to talk about, but I think it's an important thing to talk about. John Locken, who runs the Road Comics of America, one of his favorite expressions is cannibalism, where comedians charging comedians. Oh, by the way, I got to say goodbye to Gus really quick.